I stared at my girlfriend's hand as she reached for the wine. There it was. The ring I'd bought 6 months ago, the one that had disappeared from my dresser drawer, now glittering on her finger. But I wasn't the one who had given it to her. Her best friend Mark had proposed on Christmas Eve while I was stuck in Denver due to a snowstorm, using my ring that I had been saving for the right moment. "Isn't it beautiful, James?" Ellie asked, catching me staring. "I still can't believe it happened." Neither could I. I forced a smile, knowing I couldn't say anything. Not yet. Not at her parents' dining table on the day after Christmas with everyone celebrating. "It's perfect," I managed, taking a long drink of water to dissolve the lump in my throat. Across from me, Mark gave a subtle smile, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. He knew I knew, and he didn't care. "More potatoes, James?" Ellie's mom offered, oblivious to the bomb that had just detonated in my chest. "No, thank you," I replied. "Actually, I'm feeling a bit off. Must be something I ate earlier." Mark's smile widened slightly. He thought he'd won, but I had evidence, text messages, photos, bank statements, all pointing to who Mark really was. And by the end of this dinner, everyone would know his secrets, including Ellie. 3 months earlier, I was living what I thought was the perfect life. Ellie and I had been together for 3 years, sharing a downtown apartment with a view of the bay that made our friends jealous. I was 32, had just made partner at my architecture firm, and was ready to take the next step with the woman I loved. Ellie Bennett had crashed into my life at a charity auction where I'd been dragged by colleagues. She was organizing the event, clipboard in hand, somehow managing to look both professional and irresistible in a simple black dress. When she'd asked me to bid on a weekend getaway package that wasn't getting enough attention, I'd impulsively offered $5,000 just to keep talking to her. "That's $4,000 more than the listed value," she'd said with wide eyes. "I know what things are worth," I'd replied. 3 years later, I still believed she was worth every penny and more. I'd bought the ring on a Thursday in September. 2 carats, emerald cut, set in platinum, classic and timeless, just like Ellie. I'd hidden it in my sock drawer, waiting for our anniversary trip to Napa in November. But work got hectic, the trip was postponed, and the ring remained hidden, my proposal plans on hold. Mark Washington entered our lives about a year into our relationship. He was Ellie's new colleague at the nonprofit where she worked. They hit it off immediately, both passionate about environmental conservation, both with the same dry sense of humor. At first, I was happy Ellie had found a work friend. Mark seemed like a good guy, smart, ambitious, and engaged to his college sweetheart, Hannah. The 4 of us even started hanging out together. Dinner parties, weekend hikes, the occasional concert. Mark and Hannah seemed solid. He'd look at her with such tenderness sometimes that I made mental notes about how to be a better boyfriend. But things changed after Mark and Hannah broke up 6 months ago. "It was mutual," Mark had explained over beers, just the 2 of us. "We wanted different things. Hannah wants kids right away, but I'm not there yet." I'd offered sympathetic words, told him he'd find someone else when he was ready. "Actually," he'd said, looking into his beer, "I think I already have feelings for someone else." "That's fast," I'd replied, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Sometimes you just know, right? Like you with Ellie?" I should have seen the warning signs then. The way he started showing up everywhere, at our apartment, at Ellie's office events, even at the gym I frequented. He was inserting himself into our lives, particularly Ellie's. One night in November, after Mark had left our apartment following a dinner that ran too late, I voiced my concerns to Ellie. "Don't you think Mark's been around a lot lately?" Ellie looked up from her book. "He's going through a rough time with the breakup. He needs friends." "It feels like he needs you specifically." "James," she sighed, putting her book down. "Mark is my friend. He's been a great colleague and mentor at work. I'm not going to abandon him because you're feeling weirdly territorial. I'm not being territorial. I just think his intentions might not be entirely friendly. That's ridiculous. Mark doesn't see me that way. She'd picked her book back up, effectively ending the conversation. But I knew what I was seeing. The lingering looks, the inside jokes, the text messages at all hours. Something wasn't right. Then, 2 weeks before Christmas, I had to fly to Denver for a major client presentation. The project was huge, a sustainable office complex that could put our firm on the national map. I'd be gone for 3 days, back in plenty of time for the holidays. "I'll miss you," Ellie had said at the airport, giving me a kiss that made the business traveler next to us clear his throat awkwardly. "It's just 3 days," I'd replied, though I already felt the absence of her. "Mark's taking me to that new exhibit at the Modern Art Museum while you're gone, so at least I won't be lonely." I'd tensed but said nothing. What could I say without sounding like a jealous boyfriend? Ellie was an independent woman. She could hang out with whoever she wanted. "Have fun," I'd said, giving her one last kiss before heading to my gate. Little did I know that those 3 days would stretch into a week, as Denver was hit with the worst blizzard in decades. All flights canceled, roads closed. Me, stranded in a hotel room watching the snow pile up outside my window, trying not to think about Ellie and Mark back home. I called her every night, and while she always answered, something felt off. Her responses were brief, distracted. When I asked about the art exhibit, she gave vague answers. When I told her I might not make it home for Christmas Eve, her disappointment seemed oddly muted. "It's fine," she'd said. "I understand it's out of your control." "I'm really trying to get back," I promised. "I'll be on the first flight out when the airport reopens." "I know you will. Look, I should go. Mark and I are finalizing the details for the office holiday party tomorrow." Mark again. Always Mark. The night before Christmas Eve, I was packing my bag, hopeful that the morning flight would actually take off, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thought you should see this." Attached was a photo, clearly taken from across a restaurant. It showed Ellie and Mark at a table, leaning close, her hand on his. They were smiling, sharing some private joke or secret. My stomach dropped. I tried calling Ellie, but she didn't pick up. I called again. Nothing. I sent a text asking where she was. No response. An hour later, another text from the unknown number. "Check your sock drawer when you get home." I called Ellie again, and this time she answered, sounding breathless. "Hey, sorry, I was in the shower. My phone was in the other room." "Are you home?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Yes, just getting ready for bed. How's Denver?" "Who were you with tonight?" A pause. "Just grabbed a quick dinner with Mark to go over some work stuff. Why?" "No reason," I said, my mind racing. "Just wondering." We talked for a few more minutes, each word from her feeling like a betrayal. When we hung up, I stared at the photo again, trying to convince myself it was innocent. Maybe the angle made it look more intimate than it was. Maybe I was overreacting. But then why lie about being home? The next morning, Christmas Eve, my flight was finally cleared for takeoff. As we lifted into the sky, leaving the snow-covered Denver behind, I felt a mix of dread and determination. I needed to get home. I needed to see what was in my sock drawer. I needed to know the truth. The flight was bumpy. My thoughts even more so. By the time we landed, it was already dark. The city transformed into a holiday wonderland of lights and decorations. I grabbed the first taxi I could find. "It's Christmas Eve," the driver said, eyeing me in the rearview mirror. "Someone special waiting for you?" "I hope so," I replied. When I finally reached our apartment building, I took the stairs 2 at a time, too impatient to wait for the elevator. I unlocked our door and stepped inside. The apartment was empty and dark. "Ellie?" I called out, though I already knew she wasn't there. I went straight to our bedroom, to the dresser where I kept my socks, my heart pounding. I opened the drawer and dug beneath the rolled pears to the back corner where I'd hidden the small velvet box. It was gone. My phone buzzed. A text from Ellie. "At the restaurant with friends. Join us when you get in. We're at Luciano's." I stood frozen, staring at my phone. Luciano's was our special place, where we'd had our first official date, where we celebrated anniversaries, where I had planned to propose when the time was right. And now she was there with friends, with Mark. I changed quickly and headed back out. The taxi driver who'd dropped me off was still outside, finishing a cigarette. "That was fast," he commented. "Change of plans," I said, climbing back in. "Luciano's on 5th, please." The restaurant was packed with holiday diners, the atmosphere festive with twinkling lights and poinsettias on every table. I spotted Ellie immediately, her blonde hair catching the light, her laugh rising above the din of conversation. She was at a table with Mark and several other people from her office. As I approached, she looked up and her face brightened. "James, you made it!" She jumped up and threw her arms around me. "I thought you were still stuck in Denver." I hugged her back, breathing in her familiar scent, feeling some of my fears dissolve. Her reaction seemed genuine, her joy at seeing me real. "Got lucky with a flight," I said as she pulled me to the table. Mark stood and extended his hand. "Good to see you, man. Ellie was worried you'd miss Christmas." I shook his hand, studying his face. He seemed completely normal, friendly even, no hint of guilt or secrecy. "Wouldn't miss it," I replied. Throughout dinner, I watched them interact, looking for signs of what I feared. But Ellie was her usual self, and while she and Mark clearly had an easy rapport, there was nothing that screamed romantic involvement. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe the photo was innocent. Maybe there was an explanation for the missing ring. After dinner, as everyone was putting on coats and exchanging holiday wishes, Mark pulled me aside. "Hey, I've been meaning to ask you something," he said, his voice low. "It's about Ellie." My body tensed, ready for a confession or confrontation. "What about her?" I asked. "I'm thinking of offering her a promotion at work, regional director position. But it would mean more travel, longer hours. I wanted to make sure you'd be supportive before I bring it up to her." I stared at him, caught off guard. This was about work? "Of course," I said finally. "If it's what she wants, I'll support her." He clapped me on the shoulder. "Great. That's what I figured, but wanted to check. You're a good guy, James." As we all filed out of the restaurant, I felt foolish. I'd let a mysterious text and photo plant seeds of doubt about the woman I loved, the woman I wanted to marry. Back at home, as Ellie got ready for bed, I discreetly checked all my drawers again, hoping I'd somehow missed the ring. Nothing. "Everything okay?" Ellie asked, catching me rummaging. "Just looking for my charger," I lied. She slipped under the covers and patted the space beside her. "Come to bed. It's Christmas Eve." I joined her, trying to push my concerns aside. Maybe I'd misplaced the ring before leaving for Denver. Maybe I'd moved it somewhere safer and forgotten in the rush to pack. "I'm glad you made it home," she said, curling against me. "Christmas wouldn't be the same without you." "Me too," I said, holding her close, wanting desperately to believe everything was as it should be. The next morning, Christmas Day, we exchanged gifts in our pajamas, sipping coffee and eating the cinnamon rolls Ellie had picked up from the bakery down the street. My gift to her was a pair of sapphire earrings that matched her eyes. Her gift to me was a vintage architectural book I'd admired months ago. It was perfect, normal, no signs of the betrayal I'd feared. After breakfast, we dressed for the day at her parents' house. As Ellie was putting on her coat, her phone buzzed. She checked it, then looked up at me with an odd expression. Mark wants to stop by my parents' place tonight to drop off a gift, she said. That's okay, right? Sure, I replied, though something in her tone made me uneasy again. Is that normal? Him coming to your family's Christmas? He doesn't have family in town, she explained, a bit defensively. And my parents like him. They've invited him to stuff before. I nodded, not wanting to start an argument on Christmas. But as we drove to her parents' suburban home, the questions returned. Why was Mark so interested in inserting himself into every aspect of Ellie's life? And where was my ring? The day passed pleasantly enough. Ellie's parents were warm and welcoming as always. Her younger brother was home from college, full of stories about campus life. We ate too much, opened more gifts, and watched holiday movies. As evening approached, Ellie grew increasingly distracted, checking her phone frequently. Mark should be here soon, she said, glancing at the time. Sure enough, just after 6, the doorbell rang. Ellie jumped up to answer it, moving with an eagerness that twisted something inside me. Mark entered bearing gifts and holiday cheer, greeting everyone warmly. He handed Ellie's mother a bottle of her favorite wine, gave her father a box of cigars, and tossed a small wrapped package to her brother. And for you, he said to Ellie, pulling out a small box. Something special. My heart froze. The box was the right size for a ring. My ring. Ellie opened it slowly, gasping when she saw what was inside. Mark, this is beautiful. She held up a delicate silver bracelet with a small charm, an otter, which I knew was her favorite animal. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by shame. I'd been building this nightmare in my head for nothing. The evening continued with more food, more drinks, more laughter. Mark fit in seamlessly with Ellie's family, knowing all their inside jokes, their preferences, their stories. It was clear he'd been here many times before. After dinner, I offered to help clear the table. In the kitchen, Ellie's mother cornered me. We're so happy you could make it, James, she said, loading the dishwasher. Ellie was devastated when she thought you'd be stuck in Denver. I'm glad I made it too, I replied, handing her a stack of plates. She gave me an appraising look. You know, Mark's been such a good friend to Ellie, especially lately. What do you mean, lately? She hesitated, then spoke carefully. Just with everything that's been going on, he's been very supportive. What's been going on? I asked, completely confused now. She looked startled. Oh, I just meant with work and the holidays and all. It's a busy time. But I knew that wasn't what she'd meant. There was something I wasn't being told. When we returned to the living room, Mark was sitting next to Ellie on the couch, showing her something on his phone. They were both laughing, their heads close together. Again, that easy intimacy that made my skin crawl. Later, as the night was winding down, Mark announced he had to leave. He had an early flight the next morning, heading to Seattle to see a friend for a few days. I'll walk you out, Ellie offered. I watched through the window as they stood by his car, talking animatedly. At one point, Mark took both her hands in his, saying something that made her nod seriously. Then they hugged, a long embrace that seemed to cross the line from friendly to something else. When Ellie came back inside, her cheeks were flushed from the cold, or perhaps from something else. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, she said quickly. Just saying goodbye. Mark won't be back until New Year's. The rest of the evening passed uneventfully. We stayed the night in Ellie's old bedroom, converted now to a guest room, but still adorned with her high school achievements and photos. As Ellie slept beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. The missing ring, the secretive text messages, the photo of them at the restaurant, her mother's cryptic comment, the long goodbye by Mark's car. Something wasn't adding up, but I couldn't piece it together. The next morning, the day after Christmas, we lounged around her parents' house. Ellie's brother had to drive back to college for a winter session class, leaving just the four of us. "Mark's still coming for dinner tonight, right?" Ellie's mother asked as she prepared lunch. "No, he left for Seattle this morning," Ellie replied. "That's too bad. I was looking forward to hearing more about that project you two are working on." I glanced at Ellie, who suddenly seemed very interested in the sandwich she was making. "What project is that?" I asked casually. "Oh, just this new campaign at work," she said vaguely. "Nothing exciting." Her mother raised an eyebrow, but said nothing more. After lunch, Ellie announced she had to run an errand. "Want me to come?" I offered. "No, it's fine. Just need to pick up something from a friend. I won't be long." She was gone for nearly 2 hours. When she returned, she was carrying nothing, despite the supposed errand to pick something up. "Get what you needed?" I asked. "They weren't home," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "I'll try again later." That night we had dinner with her parents again. Just as we were sitting down, the doorbell rang. "Who could that be?" her father wondered, getting up to answer. A moment later, Mark walked in, all smiles. "Surprise," he announced. "Flight got canceled due to mechanical issues. Thought I'd join you all for dinner instead of sitting alone in my apartment." Ellie looked stunned, then pleased, too pleased. "I thought you were in Seattle," I said. He shrugged. "Like I said, flight issues. I'll try again tomorrow." Throughout dinner, I watched them carefully. The way Ellie kept glancing at Mark, the way he'd touch her arm when making a point, the silent communication that passed between them when they thought no one was looking. And then I saw it. As Ellie reached for her wine glass, a glint of light caught my eye. On her right hand, third finger, was a thin band with a small stone. It wasn't an engagement ring, not positioned correctly for that, but it was new. I'd never seen it before. "Nice ring," I commented, nodding toward her hand. She glanced down as if surprised to find it there. "Oh, thanks. It's just something I've had for a while." Mark took a sudden interest in his mashed potatoes. For the rest of the meal, I could barely focus on the conversation around me. My mind was racing, connecting dots, forming a picture I didn't want to see. After dessert, Ellie excused herself to use the bathroom. As soon as she was gone, I turned to Mark. "Can I talk to you outside for a minute?" He looked surprised, but nodded. "Sure?" We stepped onto the back porch, the cold December air a shock after the warmth of the house. "What's going on with you and Ellie?" I asked directly. He flinched slightly, but recovered quickly. "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean. The secret meetings, the text messages, the way you look at her. And now this sudden appearance after supposedly flying to Seattle?" Mark sighed, his breath visible in the cold air. "Look, James, I care about Ellie. She's a good friend and colleague. That's all." "Then why do I feel like there's something you're not telling me? Why did someone send me a photo of you two looking very cozy at a restaurant while I was stranded in Denver?" His eyes widened slightly. "Someone sent you a photo. Who?" "I don't know, anonymous number, but that's not the point. The point is, it looked suspicious." He ran a hand through his hair. "We were discussing work, a sensitive new project. Maybe someone misinterpreted what they saw." "And the ring on her finger? The one she claims she's had for a while that I've never seen before?" At this, Mark looked genuinely confused. "What ring?" I studied his face, looking for signs of deception, but found none. Either he was an excellent liar, or he genuinely didn't know about the ring. "Never mind," I said finally. "Let's go back inside before they wonder where we are." As we turned to go, Mark put a hand on my arm. "James, I know how much you love Ellie. I wouldn't do anything to come between you two." I wanted to believe him, but the evidence said otherwise. Back inside, Ellie gave us a curious look. Everything okay?" "Fine," we both said simultaneously. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I was hyper-aware of every interaction between Ellie and Mark, every glance, every word. But there was nothing overtly suspicious. As we prepared to leave, Ellie's mother insisted we all come back for dinner the next night. "One last family meal before you two head back to the city," she said. "We'd love to," Ellie answered for both of us. "Mark, you'll join us too?" her mother asked. He smiled. "Wouldn't miss it." On the drive back to our apartment, Ellie was quiet. "You okay?" I asked. "Just tired," she replied, staring out the window at the passing holiday lights. "What was that ring you were wearing at dinner? I've never seen it before." She glanced down at her hand, which was now bare. "Oh, just something my mom gave me earlier. It was hers when she was younger." Another lie. I'd been with her all day at her parents' house. Her mother hadn't given her any ring. "It was pretty," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Thanks." When we got home, Ellie went straight to the bathroom to get ready for bed. I took the opportunity to check her purse, feeling like the worst kind of boyfriend, but needing to know the truth. Inside, I found her phone, her wallet, her keys, and a small jewelry box. I opened it. There was the ring she'd been wearing at dinner, and beneath it, a small piece of paper with a note in handwriting I didn't recognize. "Until tomorrow night. M." My heart sank. What was happening tomorrow night? And why was Mark giving Ellie jewelry? I quickly returned everything to her purse and sat on the edge of the bed, trying to calm my racing thoughts. When Ellie emerged from the bathroom, I was still sitting there, staring at nothing. "You okay?" she asked, slipping into bed beside me. "Just thinking about work," I lied. "Got a lot to catch up on after being stranded in Denver." She nodded, already closing her eyes. "We should get some sleep." But sleep was impossible. I lay awake for hours, turning everything over in my mind. The missing engagement ring, the mysterious text messages, the new ring from Mark, the note about tomorrow night. What was going to happen at dinner the next night? The following day was tense. Ellie claimed she had more errands to run, and I said I needed to catch up on work emails. We spent most of the day apart, which had never happened during the holidays before. Late in the afternoon, as we were getting ready to head back to her parents' house for dinner, I received another text from the unknown number. "Check your bank statements. Account ending in 4,872. I locked myself in the bathroom and pulled up my banking app. The account was a savings account I'd opened separately from our joint accounts, specifically to save for the ring and our future. I rarely checked it, knowing exactly how much should be there. But when I logged in, I was shocked to see the balance was nearly zero. According to the transaction history, a withdrawal of almost the entire amount had been made 3 days before Christmas. While I was in Denver, I hadn't made that withdrawal. My hands shook as I closed the app. Someone had accessed my account, taken my money. And I had a sickening feeling I knew who. When we arrived at her parents' house that evening, Mark's car was already in the driveway. "He's early," I commented. "He's always punctual," Ellie replied, a small smile playing on her lips. Inside, the atmosphere was festive. Ellie's parents had invited a few neighbors over as well, making it a proper dinner party. Mark was in the living room, chatting with Ellie's father, a glass of scotch in his hand. When he saw us, he raised his glass in greeting. "The happy couple arrives." I forced a smile, already plotting how to get him alone to confront him about my bank account. But throughout the evening, Mark was never alone. He was always in conversation, always surrounded by people, always the center of attention. Dinner was served, and we all took our places at the expanded dining table. Ellie sat between Mark and me, a symbolic positioning that wasn't lost on me. As we ate, I noticed Ellie wasn't wearing the ring from the night before. Instead, she kept touching her left hand, as if something was missing or something was about to be there. The conversation flowed around me, but I barely participated, too consumed by my suspicions and fears. After the main course, as Ellie's mother cleared plates for dessert, Mark suddenly stood up, tapping his glass with a spoon. "I'd like to make a toast," he announced, his voice carrying over the dinner chatter. The room quieted, all eyes turning to him. "To good friends, good food, and new beginnings," he said, raising his glass. Everyone echoed the toast, drinks lifting in unison, but Mark wasn't finished. He turned to Ellie, his expression softening. "Ellie, you've been an incredible friend and colleague. Your passion, your intelligence, your humor, they've made every day at work a joy." I tensed, sensing what was coming. "And that's why," he continued, reaching into his pocket, "I wanted to do this properly, with everyone here to witness." He pulled out a small velvet box, identical to the one that had been in my sock drawer. Ellie's eyes widened, her hand going to her mouth. Mark opened the box, revealing the ring I had chosen for Ellie. 2 carats, emerald cut, set in platinum. "Ellie Bennett," he said, his voice full of emotion, "will you marry me?" The room fell completely silent. Ellie looked from Mark to me, her expression a mix of shock and something else. Guilt? "Mark," she whispered, "What the hell is going on?" I demanded, standing up so abruptly my chair fell backward. "That's my ring." Confused murmurs spread through the room. Ellie's mother let out a small gasp. Mark's confident expression faltered. "What are you talking about?" "That ring," I pointed, my hand shaking with rage. "I bought it 6 months ago. It was in my dresser drawer. And you stole it, along with nearly all the money in my savings account." "James," Ellie started, reaching for my arm. I pulled away from her. "Did you know about this? Were you part of it?" Her eyes filled with tears. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I demanded. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my girlfriend and her friend have been planning this behind my back, while I was stranded in Denver trying desperately to get home to you." Mark closed the ring box, his face hardening. "You've got it all wrong." "Do I? Then explain the withdrawals from my bank account. Explain the text messages I got with photos of you two together. Explain why my ring is in your hands right now." Ellie stood up, wiping tears from her cheeks. "James, please, let's talk about this privately." "No," I said firmly. "I want everyone to hear this. I want everyone to know what's been happening." I turned to the stunned dinner guests. While I was in Denver, these two were planning their future together, using my ring that I bought for Ellie and my money. Mark stepped around the table, approaching me. "That's enough, James. You're making a scene based on a misunderstanding." "Am I? Then deny it. Deny that you withdrew money from my account. Deny that you took my ring." He said nothing, his silence confirming everything. Ellie's father stood up, his face grave. "Perhaps we should give these 3 some privacy to sort this out." The neighbors awkwardly excused themselves, followed by Ellie's parents, who retreated to the kitchen, leaving the 3 of us alone in the dining room. As soon as they were gone, Mark's demeanor changed completely. "Fine," he said coldly. "Yes, I took the ring, and the money. But it's not what you think." "What else could it possibly be?" I demanded. "Ask Ellie," he said, nodding toward her. "Ask her why we needed that money." I turned to Ellie, who was staring at the floor, tears streaming down her face. "Ellie?" She looked up, her blue eyes swimming with emotion. "I'm sorry, James. I never meant for it to happen like this." "For what to happen? Are you in love with him?" "No," she exclaimed. "God, no, it's not about that at all." "Then what? What could possibly justify stealing from me, lying to me?" She took a deep breath. "I'm sick, James." I stared at her, not comprehending. What do you mean, sick? Cancer, she said simply. Found out 3 months ago. It's not good. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. What? But you never said anything. You seem fine. I didn't want to worry you. You were so busy with the Denver project, so excited about making partner. I couldn't bear to ruin that for you. So you told Mark instead? I asked, hurt beyond words. She nodded. He was there when I got the call with the diagnosis. He's been helping me navigate everything. The doctors, the treatment options. I turned to Mark, who was watching us with a pained expression. And the money? The ring? He sighed. There's a treatment center in Switzerland. Experimental, but promising. Insurance won't cover it. We needed the money for the initial consultation and travel expenses. And you couldn't just ask me? I asked incredulously. I told him not to, Ellie interjected. I made him promise not to tell you until I was ready. The ring, that was my idea too. I found it when I was looking for an insurance policy in your drawer. I thought if we pawned it. So this proposal was what? A cover story? I interrupted, trying to make sense of it all. Mark nodded. For the dinner guests, yes. We were going to tell you everything tonight, after everyone left. The proposal was just to explain why Ellie would suddenly have a ring. I sat down heavily, my anger giving way to confusion and hurt. I don't understand. Why all the secrecy? Why not just tell me from the beginning? Ellie knelt beside my chair, taking my hands in hers. Because I know you, James. You would have put your whole life on hold, given up everything to take care of me. I couldn't let you do that. That's what you do when you love someone, I said quietly. I know, and I love you too much to let this disease take everything from you. I looked up at Mark, who was standing awkwardly to the side. And your role in all this? The cozy dinners, the text messages, the ring on her finger last night? He had the grace to look embarrassed. The dinners were to discuss treatment options without worrying you. The texts, I don't know about any texts. And the ring last night was a family heirloom from my grandmother. I thought Ellie could wear it until we figured out how to tell you about pawning your ring. And the note in her purse? Until tomorrow night? Ellie's eyebrows furrowed. You went through my purse? I needed to know what was happening, I said defensively. You were lying to me. You're still lying to me. Mark cleared his throat. The note was about this dinner. I was planning to give her back your ring tonight so she could return it to you after we explained everything. I looked between them, wanting desperately to believe this explanation. But something still didn't add up. Who sent me those text messages then? With the photo of you two at the restaurant? Warning me to check my sock drawer? They exchanged confused glances. We have no idea, Ellie said. Honestly, James, we never meant to hurt you. We were trying to protect you. By stealing from me? By lying to me for months? I stood up again, my emotions swirling between anger, hurt, and confusion. If you're really sick, Ellie, I want to see medical records. I want to talk to your doctor. Her face crumpled. You don't believe me? I don't know what to believe anymore. Mark reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. Here, he said, handing it to me. Ellie's diagnosis. I've been carrying it with me since she told me. I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. It was a medical report, detailed and full of terminology I didn't understand. But I could read the diagnosis clearly. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer, with metastasis to the liver. The room seemed to spin. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. Why? I whispered, looking at Ellie. Why wouldn't you tell me this? She stood up, wiping tears from her face. Because I love you. Because I couldn't bear to see you suffer through this with me. Because I... The sound of a throat clearing interrupted her. We all turned to see Ellie's mother standing in the doorway, her face ashen. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "You have cancer?" Ellie's eyes widened in horror. "Mom, You told us you were fine," her mother continued, stepping into the room. "When we asked why you were losing weight, why you were so tired all the time, you said it was just stress from work." "I didn't want you to worry," Ellie said weakly. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "We're your parents. It's our job to worry, to help you." Ellie's father appeared behind her mother, his expression equally shocked. "How long have you known?" 3 months, Ellie admitted. "And you told Mark, but not us, not James?" Her father's voice was hurt, betrayed. I looked at the medical report in my hands again, trying to process everything. The dates, the doctor's name, the hospital, it all seemed legitimate. But if this was real, why had Ellie kept it from everyone who loved her? "The cancer center in Switzerland," I said, turning to Mark. "What's it called?" He hesitated. "The Rothenberg Institute." I pulled out my phone and searched the name. Nothing came up. "Try the Rothman Institute," Ellie's father suggested. "That's a real place." Mark shook his head. "No, it's definitely Rothenberg. It's new, very exclusive." I searched again, more extensively. Still nothing. "There is no Rothenberg Institute," I said, looking up from my phone. "At least not one that treats cancer in Switzerland." Mark's confident demeanor faltered. That's impossible. I've been in contact with them. I've seen their website." "Show me," I challenged. He pulled out his phone, tapped on it for a few moments, then frowned. "That's strange. I can't seem to find it now." Ellie looked confused. "But you showed me their website, the treatment plans, the success rates." My suspicions were growing by the second. "May I see your phone, Mark?" Reluctantly, he handed it over. I checked his browser history. Nothing about any cancer institute. I checked his emails. Nothing related to medical treatments or travel to Switzerland. "What's going on, Mark?" I asked, handing back the phone. He ran a hand through his hair, suddenly looking very nervous. I might have exaggerated about the institute, but Ellie is sick. That part is true." Ellie was staring at him now, doubt creeping into her expression. "What do you mean, exaggerated?" Mark wouldn't meet her eyes. "The treatment, it's not in Switzerland, it's in Mexico. It's more of a wellness center than a hospital." "A wellness center?" I repeated incredulously. "For stage 3 pancreatic cancer?" "It's alternative medicine," he said defensively. "But people have had good results." Ellie's mother made a sound of distress. "Alternative medicine? For cancer that advanced? Ellie needs real doctors, real treatment." "She's been seeing real doctors," Mark insisted. "But they all say the same thing, that traditional treatments might extend her life by a few months at best. This center offers hope." I studied the medical report more carefully. Something about it felt off. The letterhead, the formatting, it didn't look quite right. "Ellie," I said slowly, "who is Dr. Reeves? It says here he's your oncologist." She glanced at the paper. "That's who Mark connected me with. I've only spoken to him on the phone." "You've never met your oncologist in person?" her father asked, alarmed. "No, but he's reviewed all my scans, my blood work. He explained everything to me." I pulled out my phone again and searched for Dr. Leonard Reeves, oncologist. The results showed no medical professional by that name. An awful suspicion was forming in my mind. "Mark, where exactly did you find this doctor?" Mark shifted uncomfortably. "Through a support group online. He specializes in cases like Ellie's." "Cases that traditional medicine has given up on?" I guessed. He nodded. "And how much does this treatment in Mexico cost?" He named a figure that matched almost exactly the amount missing from my savings account. Ellie was looking increasingly confused and frightened. "What are you suggesting, James?" I took a deep breath. "I think you should get a second opinion. From a doctor we can verify is legitimate. In person." "But Dr. Reeves said time is of the essence," Mark objected. "The sooner we start the treatment—" "The sooner you get my money, you mean?" I interrupted. His face flushed. "That's not fair. I'm trying to help Ellie." "Are you, or are you scamming both of us?" Ellie looked stricken. "James, that's a terrible accusation. Mark has been nothing but supportive." "Then let's prove it," I said firmly. "Let's call Dr. Reeves right now. On speakerphone?" Mark hesitated. "It's late, he won't answer." "Try anyway," Ellie's father insisted, his face grim with suspicion. Reluctantly, Mark pulled out his phone and dialed a number. It rang several times, then went to voicemail. The greeting was generic, with no mention of a medical practice. "That proves nothing," Mark said, putting his phone away. "He's probably busy." "Or he doesn't exist," I suggested. Ellie was starting to look uncertain. "Mark, what's going on? Is there really a treatment center?" He wouldn't meet her eyes. "The center exists. It's just not as established as I might have implied." "And the money?" I pressed. "Where is it now?" "In a special account," he said quickly, "for Ellie's treatment." "An account in your name, I'm guessing?" He didn't answer. Ellie's mother stepped forward. "Ellie, sweetheart, when was the last time you had blood work done? Or a scan?" Ellie thought for a moment. 3 months ago, when I was first diagnosed, Dr. Reeves said we didn't need to repeat them, that it would just be additional radiation exposure. That wasn't standard protocol for cancer management, and judging by her parents' expressions, they knew it too. "I think," I said carefully, "that we need to go to a hospital. Tonight. Get you checked out by a doctor we can verify is real." Mark stood up suddenly. "This is ridiculous. You're all turning against me when I'm just trying to help." "If you're telling the truth," Ellie's father said, "then you have nothing to worry about." Mark glanced at the door, as if calculating his escape route. "Fine, but I'm not going to sit here and be accused of—" "Of what?" I interrupted. "Fraud? Theft? Taking advantage of someone's fear of cancer to steal their money?" His face hardened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then explain it to me," I challenged. "Explain why the doctor and treatment center don't seem to exist. Explain why you needed my ring and my money. Explain why you've been lying to all of us." Mark's composure finally cracked. "Because I love her," he shouted, pointing at Ellie. "I've always loved her, from the moment we met. But she chose you. No matter what I did, how supportive I was, how much time we spent together, it was always James this, James that." Ellie took a step back, shocked. "Mark, You never saw me as anything but a friend," he finished bitterly. "Even when I tried to show you how perfect we would be together." "So, you made her think she was dying?" I asked incredulously. "What kind of sick game is that?" "She was having health issues," he said defensively. "Fatigue, weight loss. I just suggested it might be something serious. Found a doctor who would confirm it." "Found someone to pretend to be a doctor, you mean?" Ellie's father corrected, his voice like ice. Ellie was shaking now, her face pale. "You let me believe I was dying? For months? You watched me suffer, terrified, thinking I had months to live?" Mark had the decency to look ashamed. "I needed time. Time to show you how much I care, how good we could be together. The plan was that after a few months at the treatment center, you'd start to get better, thanks to my care, my support. Not his." He glared at me. "And my money," I added coldly. "You have plenty more," he snapped. "Mr. Successful Architect, you wouldn't have missed it." Ellie looked like she might collapse. Her mother rushed to her side, supporting her. "I trusted you," Ellie whispered. "I've been preparing to die, making peace with it, all for your sick fantasy." "It wasn't like that," Mark insisted. "I was going to take care of you. We were going to be happy together." "Based on a lie that I was terminally ill?" Ellie's voice rose. "What kind of monster does that?" Mark's expression darkened. "The kind who's tired of being overlooked, the kind who deserves more than being the supportive friend, the kind who belongs in jail," I interrupted, pulling out my phone, "which is exactly where you're going." "Wait," Ellie said suddenly. "Before you call the police, I need to know, am I actually sick, or was it all a lie?" Mark hesitated. "You should get checked out by a real doctor. Your symptoms were real. I just helped them point to a specific diagnosis." "How?" Ellie's father demanded. Mark shrugged. "It's not hard to make someone feel worse when they already feel bad. Suggestions, mostly. And maybe a little something in her coffee when we'd meet for breakfast." "You drugged her?" I exclaimed, horrified. "Nothing dangerous," he said quickly. "Just enough to make her tired, a little nauseous. Enough to convince her something was wrong." I'd never felt such rage. Before I could think, I lunged at him, grabbing him by the collar and slamming him against the wall. "James!" Ellie cried out. "You systematically tortured the woman I love," I hissed in Mark's face. "Made her think she was dying, put her through hell. Also, you could play the hero?" Despite the position he was in, Mark managed a sneer. "At least I was here. You were always too busy with work, with your big, important projects. She needed someone, and I was there." "Stop it, both of you," Ellie said, her voice stronger now. "Mark, I want you to leave, now, and if you ever come near me again, I'll make sure you regret it." I released him, stepping back. Mark straightened his shirt, looking from Ellie to me to her parents. "Fine, but you'll see. You'll realize I was doing this for us, Ellie. For our future." "There is no us," she said firmly. "There never was, and there never will be." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring box, tossing it on the table. "Here, your precious ring. I never actually pawned it. Couldn't bring myself to part with the symbol of what should have been mine." With that, he walked out, the front door slamming behind him. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Ellie collapsed into a chair, her whole body shaking. "I'm not dying," she whispered half to herself. "It was all a lie." I knelt beside her, taking her hands in mine. "We're going to get you checked out, just to be sure. But yes, it seems like Mark fabricated the whole thing." Her mother was already on the phone, speaking to someone about an emergency appointment with their family doctor. "I can't believe I fell for it," Ellie said, her voice hollow. "I trusted him completely." "We all did," her father said grimly. "He had us all fooled." I looked at the ring box on the table, then back at Ellie. "Not everyone. Someone was trying to warn me. The text messages, the photos." "But who?" Ellie asked. Before I could speculate, my phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. "She deserved better than both of you, but especially him." "Hannah," I realized suddenly. Mark's ex-fiancée. She must have been keeping tabs on him, realized what he was doing. "But how would she know about the ring? About your bank account?" Ellie asked. I thought for a moment. Mark must have told her about his plan, or at least parts of it, when they were still together. Or maybe she found out after they broke up. Either way, she's been trying to expose him. I texted back, "Thank you, you were right about everything." The response came quickly. "Is Ellie okay? She will be," I replied. Ellie's mother finished her call. "Dr. Patterson can see you first thing tomorrow morning. He'll run a full panel of tests." Ellie nodded. then turned to me. "I'm so sorry, James. For everything. For not telling you I wasn't feeling well. For trusting Mark over you. For letting him take your money and your ring." I squeezed her hands. "None of this is your fault. You were manipulated by someone you trusted. We all were." "But I should have trusted you," she insisted, tears welling in her eyes again. "Instead, I shut you out because I thought I was protecting you." "We have time to work through all of that," I assured her. "All the time in the world, now." She gave a small, shaky laugh. "I guess we do." I picked up the ring box from the table, turning it over in my hands. Not how I had planned to give it to her, not under these circumstances. But suddenly I knew exactly what I needed to do. I opened the box, took out the ring, and put the box aside. Then I took Ellie's left hand in mine. "Ellie Bennett," I said, my voice steady despite the emotion choking me. "I've loved you from the first moment I saw you with that clipboard at the charity auction. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Our real life, not the shortened one Mark made you believe you had. Will you marry me?" Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but these were different from the ones before. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." I slipped the ring onto her finger, where it belonged, where I had always intended it to be. Her parents were both crying now, too, her father's arm around her mother's shoulders. "Maybe not the Christmas proposal any of us expected," her father said with a watery smile. "But I'd say it ended up exactly as it should." Ellie looked down at the ring, then up at me. "I can't believe I almost lost this. Lost us." "You didn't," I said firmly, "and you won't." The next morning, as promised, we went to Dr. Patterson's office. After a thorough examination and urgent blood work, his conclusion was clear. Ellie was not suffering from cancer or any other life-threatening illness. She did have mild anemia and signs of what could be the early stages of an autoimmune condition. Both treatable, neither remotely fatal. "The symptoms you've been experiencing," he explained, "could be attributed to these conditions, exacerbated by stress, and potentially by whatever substances this man may have been giving you." Ellie nodded, relieved but still shaken. "How long will it take to feel normal again?" "Not long," he assured her. "A proper diet, some supplements for the anemia, and most importantly, distance from the person who was making you sicker, both physically and psychologically." We filed a police report that afternoon. Mark was arrested 3 days later trying to board a flight to Mexico. Ironically, to the very region where he'd claimed the treatment center was located. The doctor he'd been speaking with turned out to be a former medical school dropout, with a talent for forgery and a history of similar scams. My bank was able to recover most of the money Mark had taken, though some had already been spent on what the police described as preparations for an extended stay abroad with a companion. Hannah, Mark's ex-fiancée, eventually agreed to meet us for coffee. She was a petite woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "I knew something was off with him toward the end of our relationship," she explained. "He became obsessed with you, Ellie. Had a whole folder of photos on his computer. When I confronted him, he claimed you were just a good friend, but I didn't buy it." "Why didn't you warn me directly?" Ellie asked. Hannah sighed. "I tried once. Sent you a message on social media. You blocked me and told Mark I was harassing you." Ellie looked mortified. "I'm so sorry. He told me you were unstable, that you couldn't accept the breakup." "Classic Mark," Hannah said dryly. "When I saw him with you at that restaurant, looking so intimate, I knew I had to try again. But this time I went to James." "How did you know about the ring?" I asked. "Or my bank account?" "Mark keeps meticulous notes," she explained. "After we broke up, I still had access to his cloud storage for a while. I saw his plans, including the details about your ring and account numbers. I was going to warn you sooner, but I needed to gather enough evidence first." "Well, thank you," I said sincerely. Without your warnings, who knows how long this would have continued? She nodded, a hint of lingering sadness in her eyes. I'm just glad Ellie's okay. That's what matters most. As spring arrived, bringing new life and warmth after the cold darkness of winter, Ellie and I found ourselves healing too. The nightmare of Mark's deception gradually faded, replaced by plans for our future, our wedding, our life together. One evening, as we sat on our balcony watching the sunset over the bay, Ellie turned to me. You know, as horrible as it all was, she said thoughtfully, I learned something important from believing I was dying. What's that? I asked, taking her hand. The one with my ring, now properly sized to fit her finger perfectly. Life is too short to waste even a moment, she said simply. Too precious to spend apart from those you love. I nodded, understanding completely. That's why I bought the ring in the first place. I knew I didn't want to waste any more time without you fully in my life. She smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder. I guess, in a weird way, Mark did bring us closer together, just not how he intended. I could have done without his matchmaking techniques, I said dryly. She laughed, a sound that had become precious to me in new ways since I'd thought I might lose her. Me too, but I wouldn't change where we ended up. I pulled her closer, kissing the top of her head. Neither would I. In the distance, city lights began to twinkle as the sky darkened. Not unlike the diamond on Ellie's finger. A symbol not just of our love and commitment, but of truth prevailing over lies, of light overcoming darkness. My ring was exactly where it belonged, and so were we.